It's no secret when I say that Hogwarts Legacy is one of the best games of 2023, and with the game selling incredibly well, it would be foolish on Avalanche and WB not to make a sequel to the game. Judging by the careers page on the WB website, it also looks like they're stuffing up for their next big game, which I suspect will be a sequel to Hogwarts Legacy. So in this video, I will be going over 5 things I would like to see added in Hogwarts Legacy 2, and for the sake of confusion, I'll be calling Hogwarts Legacy 1, and the sequel Hogwarts Legacy 2, as we are currently unaware of what the sequel is going to be called, so I think it's easier to call them Hogwarts Legacy 1 and 2 for now. We probably won't even get confirmation of this game for like at least another 2 years. I think this is because they have most of the groundwork there already, like they have the combat in place, most of the world in place, kind of stuff like that in place, so all they need to do for the sequel is just kind of add more things to it. And I understand that game development isn't easy, it's just like plopping in a few more things and calling it a day, but they have quite a lot of the groundwork there, so hopefully the sequel won't take too long to come out. Hopefully 2026 or 7, that seems quite optimistic. Maybe quite safe, I'm not sure, but either way I think the sequel will be around 2025, 2026, and also I think they might tie it in with the HBO Max show or Max show, whatever that streaming service is going by these days. I'm surprised if they tie it in with that, but yeah, I think definitely 3 or 4 years is a good timeline before we see a sequel, and in terms of announcement, maybe like 2 years, and then we might get a small teaser, but who knows, I could be surprised. Okay, let's get into the first point. The first thing I want to see in the sequel is other locations from the books and films. Obviously in Hogwarts Legacy 1 we saw Hogwarts and Hogsmeade as well as the Highlands surrounding it, but I would like to see some other locations that feature more prominently in the books. A couple that come to mind would be Diagon Alley, as presumably Game 2 will follow player characters' 6th year, so they would need to go to Diagon Alley to restock on their supplies and get stuff for the new school year. So maybe that could be like a similar way of how they did Hogsmeade in Hogwarts Legacy 1. Azkaban I think would be very cool to see. We did get a glimpse of it in Hogwarts Legacy 1, where I believe that was just a Hufflepuff only quest, and I want to say you went there with Anne Sallow. I haven't actually played that side quest as a Hufflepuff, so I'm not entirely sure, I'm just going on hearsay at this point, but maybe like a deeper look at Azkaban, as by the sounds of it, he was only there for like 5 minutes and that was it. Another place I would like to see would be the Ministry of Magic, which I think is, out of all of them, kind of one of the most solid locks in that hopefully will be in the sequel, as obviously the Ministry will want to know what the hell happened at Hogwarts during the year, why Ranrock was there at all, and kind of want to kind of get the facts of what was there. And also with Professor Fig's death, there might be like an inquest into that as well, so the player character will most likely be interviewed as they spent the most time with Fig. And also if you played the side story in the Shadow of the Flame, or whatever Sebastian's one was called, depending on how you chose to end that quest, you could either choose to turn him in or to not, and depending on which ending is canon, I guess, let's say for the sake of this video the canon one is you choose to turn him in, then maybe there could be his side story could start with maybe him saying, oh, I've got a hearing at the Ministry, could you come with me? And then you could do it that way. I think out of all of them, the Ministry and Diagon Alley are probably, they're 2 of the most requested ones, and also highly likely as well. So the next point I have is having the player's choice in the game actually affect the game and the story. As for me, I feel like the choices we made in the game didn't really affect the story too much, as in Hogwarts Legacy 1 there was dialogue options, but they didn't really affect the game that much. For example, in a couple of the side quests, say if you had to find the gobstones for someone, you could choose to either give the gobstones back free of charge, ask for some money, or keep the gobstones for yourself, and depending on which option you chose, you got a slight variation of dialogue. When it comes to the main story, there wasn't really much of that at all. Like the only big choice I can think of comes at the end of the game, where you're asked what you want to do with the ancient magic, and that's it. And even after the story's done, like during the ending cutscene, I guess, or the end of year feast, not even brought up. So maybe having a couple more choices in the game that actually affect the story. A good kind of frame of reference I would say for this would be Assassin's Creed Odyssey, as throughout the game there are choices you could make, and depending on what you chose, they would heavily impact the story. Obviously, I know that it was made by Ubisoft, and they're a much bigger studio than Avalanche, so maybe I'm asking for way too much, but maybe having a couple of choices that can impact the story a bit more would be nice. So the third point I have is to have better and deeper interactions with other characters. As for me, besides Sebastian, Poppy and Natty, you didn't really interact much with the other characters, and when you did, it was kind of quite basic dialogue. For example, the side quests, you didn't really interact with them. I feel like they could have done maybe a couple more characters that you spoke to more during the story. Like, I feel like Amit, you could have done more with him, as I feel like he was there, kind of just vanished and popped into the story as and when they felt like it. So maybe having him as maybe like the Ravenclaw story side quest guy, I guess, would have been a good call, as there isn't actually a Ravenclaw side character story in the game at all, which I find very suspicious. I'm not asking for much, I'm just asking for, say as you're walking through the halls, maybe just like, 1, you see side characters more in the halls, and 2, they actually say like hi to you. Like small things like that I think would go a long way. Like say you was walking through Transfiguration Courtyard and you saw, let's say, Sebastian for example, he could say hi, or just stuff like that. Like small things like that really help to make the game world seem more immersive, as at some points I felt like the game was a little bit too barren, and I feel like they could have had more things going about. And also, one I just thought off the top of my head, so I'd be having more mini games and also having the ability to play Summoner's Court more. I enjoyed Summoner's Court, but you played it once in the main story when you learn it, and then I want to say 3 or 4 times for a side quest, and that's it. Surely we could have like Wizard's Chess, Gobstones, Summoner's Court, maybe some more broom related things. Like obviously with Imelda Reyes you have those kind of like time trial flying things. Maybe you could have something like that but in Hogwarts. Maybe as you go throughout the game there's like a tournament system where you can kind of click on like a chalkboard or something, and then they will give you an option as a beginner, intermediate or hard, I guess, that you can pick which ones you want to do. Maybe like a better dueling club, as don't get me wrong, I enjoyed Crossed Wands Club, but kind of once you finished it in the story, that's it. You never saw Luke and Brattleby again. You couldn't redo any of the previous duels before. I feel like at the start of the game they introduced so many interesting ideas, they had to cut so many due to maybe like COVID related things or maybe like budgeting things. I feel like maybe in Hogwarts Legacy 1 they tried to implement too many things, and that's why they got cut, because they didn't have the time to actually fully work on them. So maybe in the sequel they could kind of improve and update things that we saw in the first game and actually have them kind of there throughout the entire thing. A good reference for this would be the Half-Blood Prince video game, where throughout Hogwarts you could find dueling clubs for each of the houses, and doing it you could learn spells in combat. I do think something like that would be interesting. You could also do Quidditch trials. So I think maybe take what EA did with Half-Blood Prince, where you could do mini games outside of the main story and make them replayable, and I think that would be a great thing to implement for the sequel. Okay, so this next one I'm going to talk about very briefly, as there are tons of other videos online regarding this topic, and that is romance options in the sequel. And I'm going to specify by saying romance options between the students, not between the student and the teachers. Otherwise that is a whole can of worms I'm not going to get into, as that is very illegal. I feel like the main reason people want this is because the internet has this strange infatuation with Sebastian Sallow and to a lesser degree Ominous Gaunt. On TikTok I have seen some TikTok. The one that I've seen is you're going on a date with Sebastian and then you arrive home late at the Slytherin common room, and then Ominous is there and he's asking what took you so long, and it's like a whole, I want to say 6-minute TikTok that I'm pretty sure has been re-uploaded onto YouTube at this point. But the thing that I'm not too keen on is the fact that they've used AI to make these simulated stories. Yes, I know we all love these characters, some people like them more than others, but it's kind of a slap in the face to the actors that put so much time into recording the dialogue for the characters and bringing them to life. So yeah, I'm just going to say when it comes to the romance options, I wouldn't mind if they were there, I wouldn't mind mind if they wasn't there. I just feel a little bit sorry for the actors who have to go on TikTok and listen to videos of a voice that sounds exactly like theirs saying some questionable things. And the last point I have for this video is one that's sort of already in Hogwarts Legacy 1, but briefly, and that is companions. Yes, I know there are some story missions in the game where, for example, at the start of the game, when you go to Hogsmeade for the first time, you can either bring Natty or Sebastian, and they will kind of lead the character to Hogsmeade, and then you kind of do stuff there, and then that's it. But I would like the ability to, when you're free roaming in the open world, to bring a companion character with you, and maybe you could level them up a little bit as well. Like, say, obviously the character has their own like upgrade, XP, skill tree thing, but maybe you could have like a side one for companions, similar to in Assassin's Creed Syndicate. You had Jacob and Evie's upgrade skill tree, and you also had one for the Rooks as well. Maybe they could do something similar with that. I don't expect it to be really in-depth. Maybe if you go on certain things with, say, Sebastian or Natty or Poppy, you'll get XP, and then you can, say, upgrade, they deal more damage, or they'll heal you in combat. Just stuff like that. I feel like that would be quite cool, as I'm pretty sure digging into the files of the game, companions was supposed to be a thing in the game. I'll leave a link in the description down below on a video I saw the other day that had all of the unused things that someone found in the game files, and there is quite a lot. I think it was like a 20-minute video of all the unused things in the game, being that unused dialogue, unused mechanics. There was an entire like friendship system, I guess. There was a morality system as well. Yeah, there was a lot in that video that we've linked down below. I mean, that being said, I would love to have a morality system similar to, I think it's Knights of the Old Republic, where you can choose light side or dark side. And obviously friendship, like a deeper friendship system, I would love that as well. So those are some of the ideas I had for what I would like to see in Hogwarts Legacy 2. I would love to hear what you guys think in the comment section down below. That's all I have for this video. If you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up, and I will see you next time.